Welcome to Baby Boomer Tales. My name's Jim. You can find us at babyboomertales.com, our Facebook page, Baby Boomer Tales, and anywhere podcasts are served.
Housekeeping. Jim, you said North Central Kansas the other day, and that's not where we live. We live in northeastern Kansas.
I know, Hadtha.
Yeah, northeast Kansas.
I should have said northeastern Kansas instead of north central Kansas. It was right after I said north central Colorado Rocky Mountains, and so I just got a little discombobulated. I did. But the only place up there I know about north central Kansas is a little town called Norton. It's the county seat of their county. It has about 2,800 people living there. It's right there against Prairie Dog Creek and just a ways away from the Keith Sebelius Lake. It looks like a nice little place. I ought to go up there sometime. It's very close to Nebraska.
The only reason we live here is because you have nice cardboard boxes.
That's right, Hadtha. We won't make that mistake again. Or if we do, you can correct me. You guys always do. How you doing, munchies?
Good. Yeah, good.
The other day, I was mowing, and I saw my wife go to the backyard, and all of a sudden she started walking towards these zinnias, flowers she has. They get 4 feet tall, maybe. All different colors. They're really pretty, and they're an annual, but she just throws the seeds out there where I keep firewood in the winter, and she always does it where the firewood's gone, and I haven't replenished it for the next winter yet. And they just grow up there just bright and beautiful as can be. But all of a sudden, there was this little brown cat. Now, I had just got done talking about you just don't see brown cats. So I started towards her in the mower, and I could tell it was a baby bobcat. And she wasn't chasing him, but he ran out into the middle of the yard out of those zinnia plants. And so I drove up there, and he was keeping a distance from me, so I realized that I needed to turn the mower off, and he ran over by a tree. So I kind of walked in his direction, and Kim kind of walked from a different side of him, and she snapped a picture of him, and maybe I'll put it on my Facebook Baby Boomer Tales page. It is a great picture. So we decided to let the little guy just go back to where he's hiding. Mama probably stashed him there while she went looking for a bunny or something for breakfast. So I went and mowed in a different direction. Kim went back into the house after she got done doing whatever she was doing over by the flowers. And by the time I needed to mow over in the backyard, I didn't see the baby bobcat anywhere. He is really beautiful, he really was. Before I was so rudely interrupted by Had the Munchie and his 2 cohorts, Githa and Gatha, I wanted to tell you about how I observe stuff, just some of the stuff that I've been experiencing lately. I told you about the baby bobcat. Well, the other day I went to the grocery store, and I always check my receipt before I leave the building because sometimes something was on sale or there was a digital coupon or something and I didn't get charged correctly for it. And I saw that the freebie, because where I shop every Friday, if you spend $25, you get something free. Well, this time it was a big package of donuts. And I would never buy just donuts like that, but they were free, so I got them, and the price was on there, but it didn't show where they took the price off. So I went to customer service, and the lady said, no problem, we'll give you a refund, but let me see your receipt. And I showed her my receipt. She said, well, you didn't use your rewards card, and I can't give it to you because you didn't use your rewards card. And I said, baloney, it shows that I got sale prices on other stuff that only if I had the rewards card, but it didn't give me my donuts for free. So then she looked and she said, well, it doesn't show that you used the shopper's card. I said, let me look at this, and it didn't show where my gas miles, they give me so much off per gallon at the local gas station, and it accumulates, and sometimes I can get 40 cents a gallon off if I wait until right before the points expire. And so then she said, well, your card is no good. We've been having this problem and we have to issue a new card, and all you have to do is just call this number and explain to them. I said, it's your fault. You call them. I can't call them. I'm not allowed. Baloney, you can call them. Well, I don't even know how to call them. Well, there's the phone number. I can't call them. I'm not going to call them. I said, well, I just talked to the store manager in the back of the store, and you call him over here and let's see what he says. So the store manager comes, and he's a real nice guy. And he looked right at that customer service lady and said, just call him and get this fixed for him. So then she's all kind of acting mad at me. And somewhere in all this, the assistant store manager came and she took over for her. But that lady at customer service was supposed to give me my $1.99 for the donuts back. And I looked today at my credit card because she didn't even give me a receipt, but I got all messed up. I always get a receipt for everything, but I was messed up because she was harassing me about this other deal with my mileage. So she said she did it. So when I got home, I looked at my credit card and she charged me for the donuts. She didn't give me a refund. So now I've got to go back and not only get my $1.99 for credit, but a credit also for the $1.99 that she charged me twice. Golly. But what I noticed, if you watch our YouTube channel, if you go to YouTube Live, there's our live instead of just the podcast. And I had one thing talk about negotiations. Where I'm going with this is most people would have just said, okay, and go home and waste about 45 minutes trying to figure it out on this number. These people are supposed to serve you. Her station there at the grocery store was customer service, and she didn't want to give any service. I knew this going in because I waited for about 2 minutes while she was putting something in a box. There, she was the only one working the customer service counter. Instead of even acknowledging me and saying, I'll be right there. So I knew something was up. She was not very good at her job. She wasn't. She should be fired. Or at least put, shucking onions in the back room or something. So don't let them tell you that you have to do something when everything in you says it's supposed to be their responsibility. Stand up for yourself. Do that. Back to the baby bobcat. I have been observing some wildlife here. The other day, right by that tree that baby bobcat ran past, I was looking out the window first thing in the morning, and I opened the shades, and this deer was standing there, and I thought, well, he's awfully close to the house. That's unusual. And then he laid down. So, whoa, this is really unusual. And I watched him, and there for a few minutes, he started scratching his back, biting at his back, kind of in between his shoulders. They can really turn their heads, And I thought, I wonder if something's wrong with this guy. So I watched him for maybe 10, 15 minutes, just watching him lay there. And he didn't seem to be in ill health, but I was thinking I don't want him to have a baby, and he didn't look pregnant, But I think he was a young buck that had just shed his antlers, actually, but I couldn't really tell. And so I walked out there just to see how he would react to me being out there. And he got up and he kind of sauntered off. Not like he was ill or anything, but not like he was spooked either. And he finally jumped the fence into the cornfield, and there he went. So, baby bobcat and a deer laying down. The other thing I've had, and I have this every year about August, I've had a great horned owl, and for a while there I thought I had two because I'd look in the back and there's one, and I go around and look in the front, and down by the garden there's another one, and I've determined that that was the same owl. But they are fascinating. I guess he's catching mice and stuff maybe eating some grubs and worms, but they are beautiful also. The reason we were talking about no brown cats is if you look at a great horned owl, at first when he's just sitting there in your yard, he kind of looks like a big old cat until he starts walking or turns sideways or something because of his ears or whatever those tufts are in the front of him. They are beautiful. I have had a lot of action around here in my yard lately. But what I call my yard and my property, we have 25 acres, and it's getting harder and harder to keep up. I just went to the back of the property the other day to mow, and I hadn't been back there, but that's where my animal cemetery is, and I wanted to visit the graves and all that stuff, and I mowed around that, but the grass was taller than knee high, and I started mowing around there because I mow it 3 times a year, and I just hadn't been back there. I'd just been overwhelmed, I guess. And there's places where it's becoming so overgrown. A tree had fallen right across the part where I store stuff like fence posts and culvert and all this stuff, pipes and stuff. And I went to pick it up maybe, but it was so big and heavy I'm going to have to get a chainsaw back there. And I can't even get my truck back there. I remember one time I drove a flatbed truck back there, taking a big animal cage, about, 8 feet tall, about 8 by 8, something like that, back there, and dumped it off one of our rentals. The people had abandoned the place and left it. Now I can't even get it out of there. I couldn't even find it for a while. It was so overgrown, but I did find it. What is going on? Am I getting older? Our song of the week is What a Wonderful World, recorded in 1967 by Louis Armstrong. It rose to the top of the charts in the United Kingdom, but in the United States, ABC Records president didn't like the song and he refused to promote it, so it didn't do very well. In 1988, it appeared in the movie Good Morning Vietnam, and as a result was reissued as a single, and it made it to number 32 on the Billboard's Hot 100 charts. This great song is ranked number 171 on Rolling Stone's top 500 songs of all time. It's a great song, and it shouldn't have been treated that way in the States. I see friends shaking hands, saying, "How do you do?" They're really saying, "I love you." Why am I so tired? That's part of what's problem here with things overgrowing. Once I got out of the back of the property the other day, I drove to the backyard, and my backyard faces the road that's up there a quarter mile or so. And my front yard faces my pond and has its back to the road. And I started looking around, and maybe it's just because I got away from back there where it's so wild. It's not like the forest in Colorado at all. It is so wild. And I started looking around the house and how my wife keeps everything neat and tidy, and how I mow, once a week anyway. And there's no weeds. There's no trees that are reaching the ground and all that stuff. Everything's neat and tidy. But I am getting old enough that you get away from the yard and things are getting away from me. And I used to work 4 days a week and then only have 3 days to do stuff around here. I had a great job for 20 years, 4 days a week. Maybe longer than that, because the place I went after that was 4 days a week. The last thing I want to really talk about here is self-checkout. You see all the time people are complaining about self-checkout and all that stuff. Well, the last 3 or 4 times I went to the Walmart, self-checkout's all lined up. You have to wait for a few minutes to get in there to self-checkout yourself. But if you walk down the row of cash registers away from the food part, the other day there were 3 open cash registers. Now, right next door to one open cash register, there was a line of 3 people waiting. So I don't know what they were thinking. My grocery store has self-checkout and hardly anybody goes there. Only time I ever used it is if I was getting one thing. But they have 4 or 5 cash registers going all the time. I don't mind self-checkout. I really don't, because I can kind of control things. But I also don't understand when people complain and they're standing 4 or 5 deep waiting to get in to complain about self-checkout, when if you just looked around a little, you could have got waited on. Just my opinion. That's all any of this stuff ever is. Hey, by the way, if you want to contact us, tell me how wrong I was, or hey, Jim, you're right on, or I love your podcast, or you are crazy, man. Whatever you want to say. You can email us at babyboomertales@gmail.com. My time is up. I've got to go. Always be kind. It's taking the high road in life. It really is. I'll be back next Wednesday. That's my plan. Thank you for riding along. Peace out.
Goodbye.